Bianca, do you know what the word anonymity means?
I have no clue.
It means to remain anonymous. Do you know what anonymous means?
Yes, of course. Yes. Okay.
What does it mean?
To not be known?
Identified?
Identified?
Okay.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
Fair. Close enough. Close enough.
I got that dish. Got that. I got that dish. 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 I got that dish. I got that dish. That dish.
Hey, y'all. It's Onika.
And it's your girl, B.
And you are dishing with Dainty Dish. How are you doing today, B?
I'm okay. You know, I drove over in this terrible rain. Oh, my gosh. In traffic, so that's not my favorite.
Toronto
But
traffic.
I'm not a fan, so might need to move. How are you doing?
Might need to, I love how you slid that in there. Might need to move.
Just you know, quick
Slid
slide.
it in there. Quick
Just a
slide.
How you doing today, though?
I'm doing okay. Came off a doctor's appointment last week. Discovered some really heinous things about myself. I'm not going to share them with the world because they're too disgusting.
You're so ridiculous.
Yeah, but you know what? Things are moving forward. They're moving forward.
Inside joke, people. Inside joke.
You'll never get it. You'll never get it.
Anyways.
But the reason I asked you that question at the top of the hour because we have our first anonymous guest.
We do.
On the show, yes.
I know. Yes.
Someone who prefers to
remain anonymous.
To keep their anonymity, and we have to respect that.
Yes.
A. We will call her A.
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 Hey.
A.
A.
How you doing today, A?
Good. I'm glad to be here. It's nice seeing the dynamic.
Oh, yay. We always love that.
Thank you so much for being on the show today.
No worries.
It is all kinds of crazy Wednesday, so I don't know if you know what that means, B, but you should by now.
I do know what it means. Oh, my
It's
goodness.
the second Wednesday of the month, and we're doing our lived experience tales, not necessarily from the crypt.
I was about to say that.
I was about to say that. I knew you were about to say that.
Oh.
Have you ever seen Have you ever seen Tales from the Crypt?
Tales of the Crypt. I was
Like
about to.
Canadian
it was,
childhood.
yes, it was bottled up in my chest, and I'm like, I can't. It's not appropriate. We're not going to do it. We're not going to go there. But
I went there.
I love it.
I
Okay.
went there. So no, but just your lived experience story. Now, do you know the Wonder Years, A?
The Wonder Years. I think like childhood, youth. Like,
Yeah,
what do
you
we-
think of childhood
Okay,
youth.
okay,
I think
yeah.
of Fred Savage and Winnie.
All right.
And Winnie.
listen, I still haven't seen the show,
The
so
brunette
don't.
that stole his heart. That he was obsessed with for most of his Wonder Years, but
We're gonna have to pull this up over the holidays.
we're gonna
'cause-
have to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
We're gonna have to. But what were your Wonder Years like?
Wonder Years. So I guess like childhood wise, people have always said I've been a bit of an old soul. Take myself a little too seriously, but
Really?
yeah, kind of, sort of. Even now, when my mom and I kind of like go out, she's the kind of, how do you say, like, take risks,
Oh yeah,
live life, and I'm like,
you're the
bring her back, bring
Mm.
her, reel her back in. Kind
So
of
you're
thing.
you're what they would say. You're the realist, and she's the idealist.
Yeah, I'm the
This
responsible
is
one.
this is us.
Okay.
This is us.
Okay. Well, I know, yes, I know the experience. But regardless, like, good childhood, like,
Yeah.
loving family, big Jamaican influence. So,
Oh.
you know, aunties, uncles, going back sometimes, just the visits are great. I'm not sure if I should kind of tie, like, in relation to some of my experiences going forward.
So you said you said childhood was good, everything went well. What were your teen years like? Like, what were those years like? How are things in school with your friendships? You know,
Teen years, I guess it started to kick in that as much as my childhood is, you know, fairly normal, fairly like happy and just enjoyable, there were snippets of times that were hard to explain, just extreme kinds of emotions that you never really, I guess, dealt with. You just kind of felt like it passed. High school started kicking in a lot harder. You guys, you know, school stresses and
Exactly.
everything. Anxiety, panic attacks. I would have like after maybe a test or, you know, handing in a paper, I'd go back to the car. My mom often picked me up and I would just have this huge panic attack some days, and it would just pass like, okay, that happened. You like had a good cry, had a good panic, go eat some food after. Just
we could all say that's like all Caribbean households, you know, like they don't.
Just watched it happen. It's like, okay, I'm picking you up. I know this thing you're gonna do, and then we're gonna go eat. And it's like,
we're gonna sweep this under the rug.
Move on. Just do what you had to do, and like let's go with it. So that kept kind of happening. You know, times of sadness, but again, I don't know if it's just Jamaican household, depression isn't quite a thing. It is not quite a word.
Pray to cray away.
Right? So if you're sad, stop being sad. You're just really sad, right? It was hard fitting in high school and stuff. So I had a lot of those sad moments, but you look at it as everyone's sad. What makes my sad particularly worse?
Important or
harder. So again, you normalize things. Years add up and things just keep kind of like
piling on,
progressing.
They progress. And what did that progression look like for you? So were you continuously experiencing the panic attacks, and was the depression getting even deeper? Like at this point you're going untreated and undiagnosed, so what does that essentially look like for you?
Honestly, it was kicking in that this has just been extremely long term. So university wise, panic attacks were still happening. I started having some more, I guess, paranoia thoughts. Always seemed normal enough to me. Eventually, I started hitting a point where I was excelling. Like I always did extracurricular, always did like community work. All through high school, that's something I did too. So I just had that extra pressure. I was never like a great straight A student, but like I always wanted to be doing more, you know, up your resume and stuff. And in university, it just started to peak. Like I was getting internships, again, lining up my future, thinking everything was just going down the right route. And I started getting into what is often defined as mania. So you're just living on this extreme high, even when you're not quite sleeping. You're waking up with extreme energy. You're up and at 'em. It's hard to even know if you're really being productive or if it's just kind of like you thinking it.
You're just frantic.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, wouldn't that just, you know, you're being productive,
right? You're not quite sure, but you know you're extreme, right? And then it just crashed and burned from there. I can walk you kind of through the crash and burn.
Walk us through
I'm interested. I'm here like, what?
Oh, God. Like, I never thought this would be like a conversation where I'm laughing.
This is what we do here. This is what we do here.
Space.
Like it's a safe space. You just if you want to laugh at yourself, laugh at yourself. If you want to cry, girl, cry. Like no one's stopping you.
That's fair.
No one's stopping you. Trust me. Safe space. Thank you, Dysh podcast.
That's fair. That's nice.
No, but walk us through it. Walk us through what that experience was like for you.
All right. So summer 2011, like I said, my whole childhood I'd just been lining things up, whether it be like doing summer school or doing, again, extracurriculars. And now I had this internship. It was, should I say the place? Am I supposed to be anonymous?
You don't have to. Yeah.
Okay, like I should
say the place
be.
If you don't want to say the place.
It was quite a good, let's just say it was a good position. I was 21 getting paid like $30-something an hour in an internship. I thought I made it, right? I thought I made it. Don't clap now because like
it gets worse. She's like, hold on, you haven't heard the story yet.
Listen, accomplishments though. Still, you gotta praise those little accomplishments on the journey.
Yeah, I'd like to, pick myself back up there, but so yeah, I was in the position and it was the high, and I had some experiences, I guess, over smoking, and I was getting a little bit sickly as I was doing that. So oftentimes doctors tend to be like, that's usually the onset or that's the trigger. I personally don't know if I fully agree because I know it had a time in my life that it served with that anxiety that I was talking to you guys about, that panic. It did serve a purpose at that time.
For sure.
But yeah, I was getting kind of sick with it. So health kind of going down, at work, stresses happening, and there was interaction with a gentleman that I will never to this day know if it was more me in my head that I thought something strange was going on, or if it was just kind of something actually going on and I just overreacted or whatnot. But essentially, there was a drive-by kind of thing, like asking if I needed a ride home kind of thing. And I just had experiences before that make me a bit uneasy. So I let him know, like, no, I'm good. Walking down later, like, they slow down again, and it just gets in your head a bit, like, this kind of seems a little uncomfortable. I'm pretty young, right? And I did call my boss just to kind of, like, I was in a remote-ish area. That's probably why the money was up there as well. Let my boss kind of know, but you start to hear yourself kind of panicking and you second-guess yourself. And because I was on that extreme emotional high as well as maybe, like, paranoid with the weed and everything, it just kind of skyrocketed down. I was calling, like, my cousin in Toronto. I'm going to let you know the city, Montreal, to come get me. And I knew something was going on. It's the strangest thing. Some people think that it's, some people think that you may not know, quite like you're completely out of your senses, but I knew something was happening. I was in the car and I was telling, my cousin as well as my boyfriend at the time that, like, I needed to go somewhere and talk to someone, particularly health-wise. But when you're in university and you're in an out-of-province kind of area, you don't quite have, like, a doctor following you. You're mostly going through the school system and using theirs. So if it wasn't open, it wasn't open at that time.
Yeah.
It's really strange when I reflected that I was actually seeking help. As much as I would like to think I would never check myself in, or I see other people who do it, I realized I was on that route, but it just never happened.
It wasn't available.
Yeah, didn't quite work out that way. So I had like 2 days of just deteriorating. Thankfully it was the weekend, so it's not like I was missing work or anything. But again, I had this great job sitting there. I knew I probably couldn't go back because things were just, everything was just happening all at once. So not proud of this, but like, paranoia finally peaked. And I guess, like, I'll fast forward. Ambulance came, picked me up. You get committed,
after the 72-hour observation.
Yeah, exactly. So you go through that whole process, and it's surreal as hell because you're like, again, I'm a perfectly normal person. I'm perfectly functional, even with all these little things that were going on. It's not like I have never been able to accomplish the things I need. What am I doing here, right? And things are not clicking quite, and you're also just not in the clearest state of mind. So it all kind of felt like a blur until you realize you can't leave.
Yeah.
That's always the best part.
Yeah.
And I'm assuming it probably felt normal, too, because it's like you were dealing with it at such a young age, and it just was building upon itself. And nobody realized. So it's like you were dealing with a regular schmegular day, if we're being honest.
It sounded like it just, something felt off, but it felt like nothing I needed to... Definitely didn't feel like it was going to ruin my life, at least at that time. Like, you lose things change, you lose job. Like, job didn't quite work out. So it was definitely a hit. And like you're saying, it being normal was definitely the situation. My parents, one of the big things they let me know was like, why didn't you tell us? Like, why didn't you open up? But in my head, it's like, again, the depression thing is non-existent. How do you communicate something?
It's almost like they make you feel bad for your problem.
Yeah.
Like, because if you did, it would be a completely different story.
Exactly.
I have the anxiety thing, and it's like, I go through every situation and scenario when you tell someone something. So it's like you already know what the answer is going to be. It's like when you're a kid and you ask your parents, like, can I go to a party? And it's like, I'm not going to ask them because I know they're going to say no.
Exactly.
You go through all those scenarios.
Yeah, I know your answer. I've had your answer before. Also, we're the type of family where it's like you deal with it, right?
Exactly.
My parents were extremely young when they had me. It's not like they had the choice to be like, I'm too sad today to take care of my kids,
Though they probably still had those days. They just don't like to admit it. They just don't like to admit it. Let's
They
be real.
managed. Shoot, I give them props. You know, they didn't really have as much time to stop, or it just wasn't possible, right? So it trickles down to, at least in my case, you know, being strong, going through situations like this. Not saying something is the strong thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
What was the hospital like? Like, what was that stay like?
Why?
traumatic.
Okay, then we don't have to talk about it.
She said stay like if it was a vacation. I'm sorry. I was going to be
like a staycation.
like a staycation. I'm like, listen, it like
I
I could even sense that like let's stint like.
It's a reasonable question to ask. It's something that is so hard to communicate. Just imagine.
It's because it's like
checked in, can't leave.
and
right?
you by your
Checked in,
dolo
can't
kind
leave.
of like.
It's the most surreal kind of thing. And I will tell you, it's to get out is kind of like earning brownie points. You need to do things step by step. Like, hey, okay, go for a walk. All right, good job. Don't stay in your bed. Do this little exercise. Go to this class. You have to, you know, check things off. Yeah,
It's almost like
it's like you get
be
permission to
be a
leave.
good little puppy, and maybe
Yeah.
we'll
Let you go.
Yeah, we'll let you
right?
go. We'll let you get adopted.
Right? Oh God.
I know that sounded terrible, but that's how you almost like brownie points.
Yeah, it is. It adds up. It's like little gold star kind of thing. It's like, yeah,
Something
you're
needs to
good
change.
go. So I did what I was supposed to do. Get out.
Mm-hmm.
And how's like, I know with me, the doctors were always telling me how I should be feeling and what I should be doing and what was best for me in that moment. Did you have any experiences like that with your caregivers?
Of course. Oh man, there's things that that stick with me forever. But you know, exercise is the thing you should be doing, or you know, going out is the thing you should be doing, or dressing up kind of thing, looking pretty, or you know, there's very key things that are supposedly social norms that show you're good. So they didn't quite apply to me at the time, but you do them. You do them so people leave you alone.
So
Survival.
you did them. Did you do them after you left the hospital? Were you like, okay, I'm good? Like,
No.
what was that like? What was that experience like? Like after you've exited, you know, they've let you go, and you know,
Any of the things I
out
was
into the
supposed
world.
to.
Yeah. What were
Was it
you?
like? Any of the things I was supposed to do, but a big thing that kind of plays when it comes to mental health, almost any person I've met that has a certain diagnosis follows up with depression. So after the whole hospitalization, depression hit big time. Again, they tell you the things you're supposed to do. It doesn't mean it quite clicks. Like you have trouble at times just eating. You get no joy out of it. I know it's bad for me when I can't even get joy out of music. You put it on and it's like noise. I guess another thing would be no joy out of art. That was a huge part of my life that just kind of got ripped. Learning becomes hard, at least for the condition I had, cognitive. Retaining things, couldn't get through, you know, movies at times. Your mind is so boggled that you can't even process a story from beginning to end. You're just not quite there. But honestly, family was huge. It was huge. I don't know how you stick beside someone who even doubts your good intentions, because back then I was a bit paranoid about everyone. But my parents stuck by me the whole time. And even for Jamaican parents, they bent their minds to really wrap around it. I can't act like they didn't try. You know, when you're in the hospital, something people don't really think about is like most hospitals, if you get injured, there's always that little section in the hospital for gifts, right? You don't get gifts in a mental ward. You know, people don't come and bring flowers, if they come at all, right? So you have some people there that look like they haven't seen their families forever, whereas my mother was there every single day. It's weird, but as much as a messed up situation I was blessed in many ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else you got? Questions? Wise?
Listen, you said a couple of things that just hit me in my heart. Not even gonna lie, like we're holding back a couple of tears. Like I felt that. It's real and raw. I felt that.
So, as I said, you're out of the hospital now. Was there any other hospitalizations that you've had over the course of the years, or?
Yeah, there was. There were 2 more. So the second one was a repeat. Just kind of hit a standstill, just mental break, overwhelmed kind of thing. Wasn't as dramatic. This time my mother walked me to, I guess, get checked in. Same kind of thing. My health was deteriorating, getting ill very easily. I was smoking heavily as well. I tried bouncing right back into who I was, right? So I was thinking, I'm super involved in the community. That's me. That's my identity. I need to do it again. Went straight back to school. And it hit hard once more. I wasn't ready. It was just point blank. I wasn't. That time round, I was adamant. Is that the word? Adamant?
Adamant.
Adamant?
Adamant is the word you're looking
All
for.
right.
Is this the school story?
Yes.
Yeah, we talked because we obviously A and I have had this conversation before, and I was hoping that you would tell
Say it.
this story because I think it's incredible what you did. I think it's
I'm
absolutely
prepared.
something to be.
Don't oversell it.
Don't
oversell it.
Listen,
Don't oversell it.
she can't oversell nothing to me, so I'm prepared to hear this story.
Okay.
So
Don't oversell
Okay.
I want to hear this. Go, girl, go.
I try to give myself props for it, so it's
yes,
weird.
as you should.
You
With
haven't even heard
everything,
the
it
story.
doesn't
You're
matter.
ready
Anything
for it? Okay.
when you start somewhere and you finish somewhere, you give yourself props all the way. So
Fair.
I want to hear this. Let's go.
Speak your
So,
truth.
first hospitalization took so much from me. Took my job, took my school, took I was living alone at the time, so it took away my independence. I had to be back with family. So second time round, a big thing for me was it's not going to take away school again. I was in 4 courses at the time. I applied to extend them because though I was in the hospital, I was ready to finish my courses. So I brought books. Literally, you would see me in a room. You'll see poli-sci, I'm letting you in. This anonymous is going to be heard. I had literally political science books, plus other, I guess, electives and whatnot piled up on the side of my bed, and I was writing papers. I was not going to drop a single course. I couldn't. It was it's funny because your mental health is already gone, but you know what will take you even further off the edge if you lose any more, if you let this thing take any more away from you. So I kind of let you know at that time too that as we fast forwarded, I got the extensions. I was back in my hometown. Don't worry about that. Studying, doing papers, and by the time that I kind of talked a lot with my psychiatrist to returning to Montreal, it was somehow we kind of got back to the concept of school, and they asked, they kind of suggested, okay, yeah, so I think you did 1 course, how did that go? Just kind of getting a revamp of everything that happened, and I had to correct them and say, actually, I had 4 courses, one of them wouldn't let me finish, but I completed 3 courses, and they sat there and they kind of give you this look, and I totally get it because maybe I wasn't the norm. Or, a lot of times you don't want people to overdo it because they're going to push themselves and break themselves as well. So I was recommended, even back then, it was recommended to me not to do school. So I'm sitting there telling this man, I completed the 3 courses, and he was just that's not what you imagine for someone who's quote-unquote sick. You don't expect functional, and that's been the story of my life. Where I'm functional enough to not make sense, but I'm still having enough symptoms to worry someone. So it's not quite I guess, much of a fit when it comes to getting help or when it comes to, expectations. They expect very little of you. Capability-wise, but
What's
I
that
passed the
like?
courses.
What's that like, feeling
What?
underestimated? Tell me about that. I felt it, and I know what
Yeah,
it's like,
like-
and I want to know what you think.
Underestimated.
Because
It's funny because it wasn't even confidence necessarily myself, or it's not even that I was, overestimating myself. It's just I had standards. I was like, I need to graduate.
Yeah.
Period. It
It
wasn't
didn't
an
matter.
impressive thing to me. It impressed him, but I'm like, this is not an impressive thing. This was
ain't nobody
this
trying to
was,
impress you.
right?
Ain't nobody trying to impress
Right?
you.
It was necessary. So, I guess, other things like getting a job, you don't really get quite as much help, obviously, when you get a job because, again, you're too functional. Most programs are in the middle of the day. It's kind of like you graduate out of whatever help you're getting and you're on your own. Right now, I get followed up and whatnot, but you can't fully get assistance when you're too functional. Yeah. So I get underestimated all the time, but here I am, full time, graduated, got my degree.
I knew you. I
doing
already
what I
knew you
need.
did after you said you did 3 courses and just they underestimated you. That was not a
Yeah.
question. So
Graduation
See, I
was blessed.
I get to clap. You guys said I didn't get to clap before, and I did too. So
Glad. Thank you. Graduation was blessed. Like, I do have to admit, things were stacked up against me. I managed. So at least the minimum I have for myself.
Okay. And who are you today?
Ooh. Who am I today? Something that will always, I guess, haunt me, but now has become a word that I'm a little safer with. When you get, again, quote unquote, sick, you seem to always be in a state of recovery. You're always, even if it's far along, there's always some kind of remnants. I'm recovering, but I don't look at that in such a negative way anymore. Recovering means you're constantly, how do I say?
progressing.
Yeah, exactly. I had to try to make a positive out of it because it stressed me so much in my life. But recovering, you're constantly healing. You're healing over and over and over. So that's where I'm at.
What are some of the things you do for your mental health now?
What do I do? Art saved my life. I like painting. I like poetry. I like, I guess, just writing in general. Film. These things are my heartbeat, right? So I'm so glad that I've gotten to do it again. When you're in a state that you're kind of robbed from creativity, when you get it back, it's like, I'm so lucky I can do this.
Listen,
I'm so
I wish
lucky.
everybody could see your face right now because, like, no, it's okay. I know you're trying to be anonymous, but girl, they need to see that smile. You could tell.
I'm just saying, it's so nice to be able to create. It is. It sounds so corny when people say it's a gift. No, I'm saying, people tell you, like that's a gift. But when you don't have it, and then somehow you find it again, you're like, cool, I could do this still. Got this still. Yeah.
So was it 2011 was the break?
Yeah, first one.
The first one?
Oh, you asked about my other hospitalizations, didn't you? I said the second one. The third one wasn't quite a break. It was severe depression. So things got dark. Yeah.
So for your first, your second, and your third, almost, sort of, kind of.
Yeah.
What would you say to those selves? What would you tell those selves? Like, knowing all you know today, all you know about yourself now, your past, your present, and, a little bit of your future even. What would you say to those selves right now?
Oh, again, this one's a cliche, but it's serious. Be kind to yourself. It's such a simple thing to say, but I remember there was a point in the hospital where one girl, she was acting out in a little bit more violent kind of way. And they put her in her room, they locked her in there, and there's kind of like a glass that you can look through. And her and I didn't get along quite, like, we had budding personalities, but you're in the same experience, right? So saw her locked in, I went by the window, I saw her crying, and I cried. And looking at her made me think of, like, how much empathy I had for her, even though I had none for myself. I was literally the same kind of person in the room beside with that same feeling that she had. So years and years later, I was reflecting on looking at her, and I was wondering why I couldn't look at myself the same way.
Right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it was tough, right? Still working on the love yourself thing, but I definitely got more love for myself, right? Yeah. Don't look at me like that.
Girl, you gonna make me cry. I don't even I just can't right now.
Oh my God.
I'm feeling so many emotions.
You're simply amazing.
You are.
Thank you.
Simply amazing.
That's what it stands for, guys. That's what it
Stands for amazing. I know because you're A, you can't necessarily shout anyone out. But if there is anyone that you are willing to tell that you are on the podcast, do you want to say hi to them, or are you good?
You could throw out some
You
initials.
can throw out some initials.
If you like.
Yeah.
They should know
Throw
themselves
some
that
street
way.
names out. Throw some street names out. T-Bone,
Doesn't
Young
even
Thug.
doesn't have to be street. This is PG. Just
You know?
mom, dad.
Yeah.
Mom, dad.
Those are the best ones.
Yep.
Easiest one. Everyone's got a mom and a dad, so that could be anyone's mom and dad.
Exactly.
That could be
Yeah.
anyone's mom and dad.
They're my number ones.
All right. That's sweet. That's sweet. All right. B, sign us off, and then I will do my thing.
All right, signing us off. So, if you guys would like to reach us, you could reach us at dysh at daintydysh.com. That's DYSH at DAINTY DYSH.com. And if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts,
Give us 5, you deserve 5.
and if you're listening to us on any other platform, we thank you very much. Subscribe, like, and share us. And if you'd like to reach us on social media, my social media is ThatMotherBadXO, and Onika's social media is
Best of Onika.
yes, and that's it. I did it.
You did it.
I did it, guys. I'm so happy you're here to witness this. I've been struggling every week, and I'm happy I impressed our guests.
All right, guys. That has been the dish of the day, and I hope y'all have yourselves a very, very, very happy